You did a piece, as I mentioned, with Frank Roach heading into the weekend there, and it was talking about, I suppose, some difficulties you would have had with anxiety. Could you tell us a little bit about that and when it first developed for you?
Yeah, I suppose it came about just when I maybe kind of between 15 and 16, um, just through different kind of bereavements and losses. I suppose that age as well, where I suppose it just started to creep into my life, and I didn't really recognize it at first. And then before I knew it, then I was kind of always down in the dumps, basically. I had to put it mildly, and then yeah, it kind of built up, and over the course of maybe 3 or 4 years, then it was just a constant part of my life that I was kind of having to deal with, and yeah, it was something that I've kind of I've kind of gotten over it. You've learned to live with it, and um, yeah, it was just kind of like maybe 4 years of quite difficult kind of circumstances, but I've kind of got over it and worked through it a lot. Like, it wasn't easy, but kind of came out the far side an awful lot better.
Yeah, and is it one of these things that was dominating your life? I mean, sometimes people talk about having tough time with mental health, and you're wondering, some people you're wondering, was it that big a deal? Was it a huge deal for you? Like, did it dominate your life?
Yeah, it was pretty much every day. It's the first thing. Like, as soon as you wake up, you're just immediately in this weird mood of kind of you're very vacant and irritable. You're very upset about it, kind of everything, and my anxiety would have led to like panic attacks, which would have started quite infrequently and then become quite regular, which was something that I could never really get used to, and they'd be kind of sparked by very minor things. But no, it was very much a constant kind of everyday thing that for a long time no one else knew about. So I felt so kind of secluded from other people. You stop wanting to meet people, and I'm like a pretty social person. Like, and to not want to go and see your friends, then you all of a sudden it compounds everything. So there's a lot of days just spent in my room by myself, which didn't help anything. And then when I went off to college, it was kind of more the same. So I had to drop out of college after about 2 months, not even about a month and a half, 2 months, yeah. And yeah, no, it was very much kind of every minute of your day, you just feel like you're drowning in something that you don't really understand, and you start to kind of despise yourself a little bit, because you're like, why can't you just cop on, like, just get over it, kind of thing. But it's not really that easy. Like, you need to find ways of what works for you to get over it, and some people never do, and unfortunately that takes the kind of ultimate I suppose decision by them, where that's where kind of suicide and stuff creeps into some people's lives, and they don't see a way out. But luckily for me, whereas those thoughts might have been there before I ever acted on it, I kind of realized what I needed to do to kind of get over it. And yeah, I suppose, like, I was kind of lucky from that point of view, that I was able to move past it and move on with it. But it's not something that I'm ever going to be fully over. It's not like it's not something I have to deal with it daily anymore at all. I rarely think about it now, but I do have to check in with myself, like, probably more often than others might, just to make sure that kind of like that I'm not going down the same pathway of letting things kind of get on top of me to a point where it will affect me again. So I've got more control over, I suppose, my own head, my own emotions now, which is quite it's quite a satisfying kind of place to be in your life, when you're quite content in that, and how you know you're going to kind of behave. Like, and it's a nice feeling, to be honest, coming out of it on the far side. But I'm almost grateful for it, because it's a cliche of kind of everything happens for a reason, but I kind of believe it, because it's helped me an awful lot in terms of who I am, and the way I deal with things now is just so different. So I think it was something that nearly needed to happen to me in life, and it was shit at the time, but it's worked out to be kind of a bit of a blessing in disguise.
When you say you have to check in with yourself to sort of, I don't know, keep on top of things, if there's anyone else who's watching and they're suffering, and what you're describing is something that they're describing, when you say checking in with yourself, what would that mean to them, or what do you think they should do?
I say, just be quite like self-aware and realize, okay, what is it that is causing this initial kind of anxiety? Or obviously if you're depressed, like people who may have had before will know there's like a chemical imbalance kind of in your brain, so you might need to go to a doctor, you might need to get treated properly for it, but others might need to just, as I said, check in, and that might involve just find the reason, find the trigger for the way you're feeling. It might be work, it might be university, it might be a relationship in your life that's gone toxic, whether that be boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. And once you address the issue and you recognize, okay, this is actually the cause, you can then start to work out solutions to it and the best way to go about it. So for me, that would be making sure that workloads don't get on top of me, and making sure that relationships in my life are all positive. And if you feel that there's a relationship that's toxic, as difficult as it might be, is it better to distance yourself from it? It might be one that you're used to all your life, and it might be one that you think that you can't kind of survive without. But very quickly after removing yourself from a negative situation, your outlook and your positivity can change, and then you'll realize, I should have done this a long time ago. So yeah, that it can change depending on the individual and depending on the issue they have. But I suppose recognizing triggers was a big thing for me, and that's something that I still do now. And I hear people, the number is, particularly for young men, the number of young guys, and as they get older, have difficulty when they're in their 30s and 40s, and they've got families and financial pressure, and they feel like they've got, through male stereotypes, they need to provide for their family, absolutely, and that's just what the male figure does in a household. But then work might not be going well, particularly with the way COVID things are happening. Money isn't coming in, and then all of a sudden you're kind of compounded with issue after issue. So to be able to step back away from that and recognize, right, the issue here now is work. I hate my job, kind of thing, or if that might be it. What can you do about it? Like, can you start looking at other options? Like, no one is forced into doing anything, and I suppose if you can start looking at kind of alternative solutions for issues that you might have, it'll just help you in terms of dealing with your own mental health.
Absolutely. Well, look, I really appreciate you joining me and explaining that, because I'd hope it'll be very helpful to some people. So thanks very much, Ray.